Hello all and welcome into WHF Tier 2 Round 6. You're here joined by me in the commentary booth, WHFO, and we're here in Texas as Zampa will be the first driver out on a lap as it stands. But we're here in COTA for the final race before the mid-season break here. Currently Stephen Beecham leads the championship by 8 points over Ty Claire, his teammate. Both Ferraris lead the championship here in Tier 2. But it has been a very topsy-turvy season. Last time it seemed like Stephen Beecham could finally pick up his first win. However, unfortunately, because he had selected the wrong tyre allocation, unfortunately, a late safety car would come out with around 11 laps to go. And Stephen only had softs to go, and in Mexico, taking softs that long is not very doable. So, unfortunately, Stephen just fell further back and ended up DNFing. Meanwhile, Crimson, who's in the McLaren today, picked up his first win in WHF and will go on board with Zampa, who has multiple pole positions this season. Could be looking for another pole here in COTA, but Zampa, his best finish this season's been a P3. Can we see him on the top step of the podium in one of his favourite circuits? COTA has always been a big part of WHF and SSR, which I'm pretty sure every season we've had COTA on the calendar somewhere. And Zampa now coming down the back straight, gets a good exit out of turn 11, charges down the back straight all the way to turn 12, which you can actually really cut the inside curb at turn 12. You can use a lot of the curb, but Zampa was very deep, misses the apex completely. You can actually cut the inside of turn 12 a lot to gain a whole lot of time. The game actually lets you away without invalidating your lap, which is a bit of a cheat code. Oh, and Zampa with a big spin out of turn 15, big mistake there from the Williams. And it looks like this lap that he's currently on will not be another pole lap. However, Stephen Beecham, currently the championship leader, in behind him in the Ferrari. He has multiple poles this season as well. Could this be another as he finds his way through the penultimate corner and through the final corner? Will be the first driver to set a banker here in the Ferrari, and up to the line. It's a 32.7 for Stephen Beecham. Meanwhile, his teammate of Ty Claire next up to the line, although it isn't a representative lap time with only he's 3 seconds off. We've also got Lime, who's on a flyer here. And I think Lime would like to dedicate this performance to his grandfather, who has recently passed away. And we all wish Lime the best, and all the condolences as well. Lime does move up to P3, following TJ across the line. Factory up to P4, as Ollie Bean out on a lap as well. Scones coming up to the line, following a V-Carb. The V-Carb of A54 up to the line as Scones pips A54 and is a second off his teammate of Lime. And meanwhile, Northey up to P8 as my controller has stopped working again. I would really like if EA could sort out whatever that issue is, but it only happens when playing this game that my controller just stops working. And it also only happens when I'm in the spectator menu. Anyway, we've got Jimmy Dwyer out there on a banker lap on those mediums. I think we'll go on board with the Mercedes of Ollie Bean. Last time out, Ollie Bean's teammate of the lanky one got up to the podium in Mexico. And the lanky, with his best performance of the season, had a rough start to the season, especially in qualifying. Thank you for the 2-bit Zampa as well. I've also forgot, let me add the sound alerts. So hopefully we can get some sound alerts going here. And Ollie Bean with a banker, or maybe a slow, an extra outlap before going again, as Ellis now on a flyer. And that may unfortunately see the stewards from, I believe that was Lime, as Ellis comes around the final corner, but in the penultimate corner did see Owen, thank you for the 200 bits, Dubsy. Dubsy in the McLaren, thank you for the 200 bits. Unfortunately, it didn't play any sound alert, and I'm not sure why. But as D. Sommers now comes around on his first lap here in qualifying, bounces through the final corner, and D. Sommers up to P8. My sound alert should be working. I'm not quite sure they didn't come up there for Dubsy. I'm just going to play a random sound to see do they actually work today, because I don't know what's happening. Okay, they work. They do working. They do indeed work. What is happening here? But anyway, also got Lanky on a lap there. As we've also got Andrew and Kevin Kell in the YouTube chat. We've got Dubsy and Zamp in the Twitch chat. Welcome everyone in who's watching on YouTube or Twitch. As the Lanky one now on a flyer last time out, got P3 in Mexico. And as we head a little bit north to Texas, can the Lanky one get a good qualifying? He did finish P3 last time out, but he had to gain 9 positions to do so, which has been a cause of concern for Lanky. He's been really struggling in qualifying this season, much better in the races, but maybe you'd think if Lanky could get one good qualifying session under his belt, then maybe he could, the podiums could start flying in. A reminder, last season Lanky finished inside the top 5 in Tier 2, and if I double check the standings, I don't believe Lanky's quite inside the top 5. I'll just double check where he is. Lanky is P6, yeah, just outside it. He's ahead of both Williams. And maybe as Lanky moves up to P8, we've also got Zampa on the board with a P6. Currently Stephen Beecham looks to be the quickest driver out there, 3/10 quicker than TJ. And Stephen Beecham, currently the championship leader, DNF last time out, but in every race he's finished, he has 100% podium finishes this season. 100% podium rate for Stephen Beecham in the races that he's finished. Possibly could have had a win last time out, but unfortunately the race did not go his way. We'll follow Andrew on a lap, the Polish driver, down the back straight. May get a bit of a tow from the car ahead, who can see flashing just up the road. And Andrew now down into turn 12. Clips the inside curb as he gets the car rotated. And Andrew made a couple appearances this season so far in Tier 1. Not afraid to step up to the challenges, Andrew. And here in the Alpine, Andrew on a flyer. And through the penultimate corner, well, where can the Alpine go? Just one more corner to do it. And Andrew last time out could have had a season best of P4, but unfortunately picked up a 10-second time penalty after contact with Zampa, which would relegate him down to P6. Still one of his best performances of the season last time out. And also now he puts his Alpine up to P11. Also got Gunner up to the line in the Sauber. He's up to P7. And we'll go on board with Stephen, who's on another flyer here. Stephen is the man to watch in qualifying. definitely in Tier 2. Seems to be the quickest out there as he clips the inside curve at turn 12. And through 13, 14 and 15. Do we see him improve his lap time here? As he does have a Williams just up the road from him. I think that is D Summers on an outlap. And Stephen now still absolutely flying. I wonder is he getting any dirty air from the Williams ahead? Either way, he is keeping composed and up to the line now. Stephen goes, crosses the line and goes over a tenth quicker. And Stephen Beecham now with a 32.5. Can't anyone do anything to stop him? Meanwhile, Ty Clear, his teammate, currently sitting P2 in the championship on a 33.1. Can Ty improve here? But I think Ty actually has already completed a lap. Meanwhile, we also missed Scones getting ahead of his teammate. Just over 300ths ahead of his teammate. Did Scones go into P4? Scones still looking for a podium this season. And we'd love to see him get onto the podium. We've seen a heroic performance in Zandvoort where he took hards 34 laps. I must remind you, 34 laps on the hards as Northie's left the session. We'll try and get Northie back in again. But as I mentioned, Scones had taken the hards 34 laps in the Netherlands. Stuff that they mention in the Bible of how you're able to take the hards that long. I think Northie's system must have went down completely, so he may need to restart. Anyway, Scones appears to be going again now. On a flyer into Sector 1. Recently upgraded to a Mazda 5, I believe. And is Scones finding new pace with his new wheel? Currently ahead of his teammate, which is no easy feat. Lime has 2 wins already this season. And Scones currently ahead of his teammate and slightly improving on this lap. Was almost a tenth up on his time. And as he engages the DRS and charges down to turn 12, has a weaving car ahead of him. Hopefully they don't cause too big of a distraction as he charges down into turn 12. Goes a little deep at turn 12 and he's down by a tenth. Must have had a bad run through there. And Sci-Fi Mega Hype also on a flyer here. But as Scones going to back out of this lap, let through one of his opposing drivers. We've also got Dubsy on a flyer here. Dubsy, who loves winning that Driver of the Day trophy. And it's rare to actually see him out there in qualifying at all on a lap. But here we are, Dub out here on a flyer. And through turn 12, where can Dub go? Dubsy, one of the longest tenured racers here, has been here since the start of SSR. And here in Season 5, we're in Season 5 of WHF. We did 7 seasons in SSR, we're now in 5 seasons in WHF. It's funny to think that we could actually get to a 7th season of WHF, actually equal the amount of seasons that SSR has had. SSR had 7 seasons on F1 2020 and F1 2022. In between those 3 game cycles. Meanwhile, WHF started on F1 23 as Dubsy moves up to P15. And here we are in F1 25, almost at the halfway point of Season 5. As Lanky seems to be on an in-lap. We've got TJ currently up by a tenth. That's a good first sector for TJ. Currently the closest man to pipping Stephen Beecham for pole here. As he heads round turn 11. He may get a bit of a tow from the Kick Cyber ahead. I wonder is the Cyber going to get out of his way? Or has Oh, the Sauber is going to get out of his way. I didn't know what the Sauber was doing there. I think that may have been either Gunner or Jimmy Dwyer. Either way, TJ's lost about 2/10 in the middle sector. But can TJ find any more time in the final sector? Currently, no one seems to be anywhere close to Stephen Beecham. But a reminder, we're almost at the halfway point of the season, and Stephen Beecham still does not have any wins. So, Stephen trying to finally get that elusive win here now in his home Grand Prix, as TJ now crosses the line. 3/10 improvement there, big improvement in the final sector. And TJ, maybe if he gets a better final sector, you'd think could challenge for pole here. Meanwhile, Lime two-tenths of the good through sector 1, charges out of turn 11, and DRS engaged as Andrews retired from the session in the, oh, that's the exit of sector 1, I believe, as Ty, or no, that's someone just letting him through. I think Andrew must have called it a day in the pit lane. Zampa off in the gravel, but we'll go back on board with Lime, who's currently half a second to the good as Dub Z's also retired in the pit lane. But Lime, if he can get a good final sector here, could challenge for pole. And Lime, who's currently down in the standings, does have 2 wins this season, but is down in P5. A win here could do big for his title charge, and definitely getting a good qualifying position will help him in that battle. And now Lime, as he charges up to the line, crosses it, and it goes P3, just behind TJ. 300ths behind the Alpine. And Lime, definitely one of the challengers this season. I don't believe Lime has any pole positions this season so far, but does have 2 race wins. That's more than anyone else here. So Lime could be one of the favourites for victory here. And it would do him well if he could get a victory to try and close up to Stephen Beecham in the championship as well. As we also have a couple of drivers on a flyer there. It seems like Ellis will be the next around here. Checkered flag has fallen. Everyone on their final run now. Ellis currently P20 out there on pad. Normally drives on wheel, but because he is in a different house, he's going to have to try it on controller. Can he out-qualify Jamie? Up to P18. Out-qualifies Stephen Beecham invalid, so will not go any quicker. Lime will not go any quicker. Ty Clear up to P4 will not go any quicker. Scones into P5 will not go any quicker. Crimson, who won last time out in the McLaren, improves by 2/10 into P6, but does not improve position. Gunner now around the final corners. He follows Raheem across the line. Gunner into P7. Zampa down to P9 now as Ollie been on a flyer. We've seen A54 up to P10 in the V-Carb. Meanwhile, I believe Ollie Bean is the final driver actually on a push lap now. And Ollie Bean in the Mercedes, currently P12. This would be one of Ollie Bean's best qualifying performances. And oh my lord, that is so loud. In my ears it was blaring. And Ollie Bean now up to the line and improves by a 10th. Can't get ahead of Sci-Fi though. And there you have it. Our Autism says Ledgeman on the roller. Ledgeman out-qualifies Northey as Jimmy Dwyer invalidates his final run. As Lanky kind of reiterates a point in the chat that I had made earlier in the session. Lanky is has great race pace, but his qualifying keeps letting him down here, and yet again it has let him down again. Last time out finished P3, but qualifies P14 here in Kota. But there you have it, Stephen Beecham on pole yet again ahead of TJ Lime, Ty Clear, Scones, Crimson Gunner, D Summers, Zampa and A54 inside your top 10, as we'll get the race director for the stewards if it's necessary. As Sci-Fi, Ollie Bean, Fackery, Lanky, Andrew, Dub Z, Raheem, Ellis, Northey and Jimmy Dwyer will be your order for this evening. Zampa says pin in the chat after qualifying P9. Zampa has had a number of pole positions this season, has had at least 2. But unfortunately for Zampa, down in P9 at the start of this one. And thank you for the bit as well, Zampa. I must set up the sound alert so that it plays a sound for the bits, because I know on my stream it has it, but I forgot. Well, maybe WHF. I don't have it set up correctly. But anyway, this is your opportunity now if you're listening to get a drink. And Ledgeman says, first time running Podden didn't qualify last. Let's go. But this is your opportunity to get a drink before the start of the race here, and a little snack if you would like. Ollie Beans has lost 3/10 on his run, and 3/10 was very close in the midfield there, but still Ollie Bean with a decent qualifying performance here. And thank you for the 1 bit, Ledgeman, as well. We currently have 204 bits this evening, with the help of Ledgeman and Zampa, and most importantly Dub Z with the big 200 bits donation. Thank you, Dub, if you're there in the chat listening. Thank you for the next bit, Ledgeman. Oh, we're absolutely rich. I may as well retire. I can live off this for the rest of my days. But anyway, hope you've all enjoyed that qualifying session. Again, we have the championship leader of Stephen Beecham on pole here, ahead of TJ. But Stephen Beecham yet to get a win this season. Could this finally be his opportunity to get on the top step of the podium? He's been waiting for it for so long. And hopefully now Stephen can finally get the monkey off his back and get the win here in COTA in his home Grand Prix. But there are plenty of drivers out there who certainly want a win themselves, and this is a very competitive tier 2. We've had multiple race winners. Ty's won, Limes won, Crimson and TJ all with wins this season in the first 5 rounds. But as we head into round 6, will we have a new winner, or will we have a repeat of Lime or Ty or TJ who are up at the front? Crimson qualified a bit further down, a bit in P6. It'd be a bit more difficult for Crimson to recreate the lightning in a bottle that he had last time out in Mexico. But Crimson also looking for a home Grand Prix victory. Can Crimson also try and go back to back here? We will certainly see. But the drivers should be readying up shortly. Lanky in the chat says yippee, because we have fun, and we have fun definitely racing. But I will try and see if I can get some more sound alerts set up for the next race. We're going to have a 2-week break after this, so I'll be going on holiday. As Zampa's played the coffin dance at the worst time, because the 5 red lights may be coming on very shortly. Thankfully they've not, as you can hear the beeping chime down, and we will have the 5 red lights on here in Texas. And here in round 6, Stephen Beecham will lead the field away as the lights are out, and away we go. And Stephen down into turn 1 gets a good start, as so does Scones. And Scones up into P4, is Lime already up into P2 on the outside of TJ. And a brilliant start there for Lime, as there's big contact into turn 1. Someone's got damage down into turn 1 already. Not quite sure who picked up the damage, but already through turn 1, it's A54 with damage in the V-curb. As Zampa leaves the track, so does D Summers ahead of him as well. Sci-Fi down, already lost a second. Sci-Fi with big damage here, as well as Raheem up to P12. But Lanky is down to the back. Not quite sure what's happened. Lanky as Ellis off the track here as well with big damage as well. Meanwhile, Crimson looking on the rear of Gunner. Well, a quick look at the tyres here. TJ inside the top. Zampa seems to be ghosted, maybe coming together with the V-curb of A54. And Zampa going to get clear of the V-curb with relative ease, with Zampa now 1.8 off that lead train. And A54, unfortunately, we have to come in to fix some damage here as Ollie Bean spins at turn 12. What's happened to Ollie Bean? He's dropped down to the back here, and Ollie Bean are coming together with someone. Meanwhile, Jimmy Dwyer, Dub Z, all involved here. Raheem as well. Oh, and Dub clips the rear of Jimmy Dwyer. Side by side they go. Andrew gets through on both of them. As Lanky trying to find a way through on Dub. Dub washing it wide. Has less downforce because of that wing damage on the front end. As Stephen Beecham sets the fastest lap. As him and Lime disappear off in the distance with TJ on the hard tyres. Already struggling here at the start. Is Northy now on the rear of Sci-Fi Mega Hype. Can Northy find a way ahead of Sci-Fi Mega Hype, who does have damage on the front end of that V-car, but Northy looking on the rear of the V-car, but nothing doing there, can't find a way through. But Lime now having the ideal start to the race, didn't have the best of qualifyings, but has joined Stephen Beecham here in this lead, or battle for the lead that is, as TJ has dropped back from the leaders. Scones also has gained up to P4 and is looking for his first podium of the season as well. As Ollie Bean says, brake pedal not working, switching to pan, and it seems Ledgeman and Ollie Bean really not having the ideal day, having to switch to pan. Here's Lime on the inside of Stephen Beecham. Side by side they go, they battle, and Lime and the Aston Martin may have to back out now. But round the outside, can he find the grip in the Aston Martin here? He may have found the grip, and Lime now into the lead of the race here in the Aston Martin. As Stephen, no, and Lime's around it, he's caught Stephen, I don't believe it! As TJ back into the lead of the race, as Scones gets through on Stephen, but absolute heartbreak again for Stephen. It seems like Stephen will never catch a break here, as Stephen tries to keep it ahead of Ty, but I can't believe it again. Stephen, no matter what he does, it seems like he can never get a win here in WHF Tier 2. Meanwhile, Scones on the inside of TJ. Can Scones get into the lead of the race? Scones down the inside of TJ. Side by side they go. Down into turn 1. And TJ going to keep it ahead on the hard tyres. But Stephen and Lime drop down the order, and heartbreak for both of them here. But Scones now all over the rear of TJ, and Scones with this new wheel, this Mazda R5, can he find his first podium of the season? Can he find his first win of the season? Anything can happen here. It's only lap 3 here in Tier 2 already, and major drama at the start here as our pole sitter damage after coming together with F1 Lime, as F1 Lime going to try and find his way back down the inside of A54. And heartbreak for both Lime and Stephen, but unfortunately Stephen came out worse there. Seen the spinning Lime and could do nothing to avoid him, as Ty Clear battling with Scones and Gunner there as well. We miss what happened there as Crimson on the rear of Gunner as well. D. Summers joining this battle. Zampa has dropped back from that lead train as Lime tries to catch Zampa here, and Zampa and Lime have had comments together in Zandvoort before, so hopefully they can keep it clean this time out. We don't want to see any more drama than we've already seen enough today, as Sci-Fi getting ahead of Northy out of turn 16. Kevin Kell says, I wonder, is this a 1 or 2 stop race? I believe it's a 2 stop race, Kevin. I have commentated some high level racing here in Texas, and I believe everyone did a 2 stop, so I believe it is a 2 stop. We may see some people trying 1 stop, as Ollie Bean and Ledgeman out there battling for P19. But we'll see. Does anyone else know that it might be a 2 stop? Because Sector 1 will really wear your tyres, as Factory already under the softs. Although I would not recommend the softs to go any length of distance here, Texas. If you're doing a 2 stop, I would still not even touch the softs. You would probably try and do a medium hard or a medium hard medium. We'll see if anyone can pull up off the 1 stop. Some people have been very successful the 1 stop this season so far, but in Texas I do believe it is a 2 stop, as Lime and Zampa are going to battle here. And Lime going to try and keep it ahead of Zampa. Meanwhile, Scones on the rear of TJ, still unable to get ahead is Scones, as Raheem and Northy swapping positions there, as Raheem now looking on the rear of Sci-Fi, but Northy actually keeps it ahead of Raheem. These two reserves are reserving the Red Bull, and Raheem almost comes together with Lanky. Didn't see the Mercedes coming there. And Lanky just about survives as he tries to find his way back through again. Meanwhile, Scones all over the rear of TJ. And can Scones finally get into the lead of the race here as we start lap 5? Scones now charging down the main straight now. And Scones in the Aston Martin up into the lead of the race. And Scones hopefully not getting a nosebleed at this time as Crimson trying to find a way through. And Gunner's made a mistake through turn 1. Crimson now round the outside trying to find a way through but can't find an opening. As Lanky and Raheem swapping positions again. Raheem keeping it ahead for another lap here. As we do have a strong train here up the front. Scones actually 7/10 ahead of TJ. TJ gonna have to lock in here if he wants to stay with the Aston Martin driver. But he does have probably the better tyre choice, as he'll have hards that can go longer. And Scones now already flashing. TJ can see the Aston Martin driver flashing, and TJ will re-inherit the lead as the Alpine gets ahead of the Aston Martin here. Ty Clear, Gunner, Crimson all waiting in the wings. D Summers would like to get back involved in that lead train. Lime gets ahead of Zampa on the previous lap, but can Zampa hold on to the DRS of Lime? Can Lime pull Zampa forward as Ty Clear now closing to the rear of Scones? And Ty, who has a win this season, one of the most unlucky drivers in all of WHF, Ty Clear finally got his first win in Spain in round 2. He'd love to see it, but Ty now has turned his attention towards the championship potentially. Ty had got the monkey off his back without getting a win in WHF. Actually hadn't got a podium in WHF up until the point where he then finally, as Lanky on the inside of both Red Bulls, and Lanky gets through of both Red Bulls as Raheem almost into the rear, which opens the door to Northey, and Raheem gets back ahead of Northey. But Tetchy battling here in the midfield as Raheem goes very wide, might open the door to Northey. He's trying to find his way through as Ellis and Ollie have penalties along with Factory and A54. Meanwhile, Zampa trying to close to the rear of Lime. Does Zampa have DRS through to catch? Meanwhile, Ty Clear now looking down the inside of Scones. Is Ty going to go for the move? There's a little look on the inside. And can Ty get through on Scones? And Ty does get through on Scones. Lovely move from the Ferrari. And Scones doesn't fight it too hard because he just wants to make sure that they both stay together and stay with TJ. As Dubsy picks up a 3-second time penalty. Actually, unlike the McLaren, normally one of the drivers you'd expect to keep his nose clean throughout. But Dub now down in P18 after unfortunate contact on lap 1. We've seen a lot of contact on lap 1 that would force a lot of drivers down the order. Meanwhile, Stephen languishing down in P15. Currently where he is, he'll still score points. But Stephen, who's short from pole here, having another unideal race here. Had a 100% podium rate before Mexico last time out and ended up DNFing. And maybe this could be the start of a bad run of form for Stephen, but we hope he can recover back up to get some decent points here. As Ty now maybe overheating his rears a little bit, as TJ now trying to drop the hammer ahead of Ty, as we had Crimson down the inside of Gunner, and Crimson with a lovely move gets ahead of the Sauber, and the Sauber are going to have to try and fight his way back past the McLaren as Ollie Bean picks up a 10-second speeding in the pit lane penalty and retires from the session. But Gunner now going to try and get back ahead of Crimson now, picks the outside of the McLaren as they battle down into turn 12, and Crimson outbreaks the Sauber as the Sauber looks for the switchback out of turn 12 through turn 13. Going to look for another switchback if the Sauber can find the traction, but Crimson in the McLaren doing well here, but has he lost DRS from the cars ahead, battling too hard with the Sauber. Crimson going to try and do all of his best to stay with Scones here, and Crimson also Ollie Bean says underbody damage from lap 1. Way too sleddy and impossible drive. That is fair enough as Crimson picks up his first penalty of the day. And that is really not ideal for Crimson. But I say that, last time out, Crimson did end up winning the race despite having 6 seconds of time penalties last time out. So even though Crimson does have an early pay in here, he could still win if he just shows the good pace that he had last time out in Mexico. So Crimson just got to recompose, stay with Scones and Ty, and make sure that they don't escape too far down the road. Stephen now joined this pack of Jimmy Dwyer, Northey, Raheem and Sci-Fi Mega Hype. And can Stephen make short work of these cars ahead of him? We will see. But I'm sure Stephen, frustrated by his damage that he caught earlier in the race, because really nothing he could do with the Lime spinning across the track, as Ty Clear now has a lost DRS range to TJ. Is TJ now finally finding the gap, and could TJ be looking at his second win of the season here, as Scones is going to try and get back ahead of Ty Clear, as Crimson's lost DRS to the rear of Scones as well. Scones going to get back ahead of Ty, but Ty round the outside breaks later than Scones, and now it seems they've both lost DRS to TJ ahead. Can TJ build a gap now on these hard tyres and clear off down the road? TJ, who started on the hards while everyone else started on the mediums, seems to have had a very good start here. And Stephen Beecham's got ahead of both Jimmy Dwyer and Northey, but you've got to think Stephen Beecham and Lime had both dropped TJ out of DRS range. You got to think, what if Lime and Stephen didn't have their issue earlier? There's a yellow flag and Gunner into the wall. Not quite sure what's happened with Gunner, but Crimson comes into the pit lane along with Lime. And Gunner, oh, he's into the wall again. Heartbreak for Gunner. Can he get it going in the right direction here? Please don't get disqualified. Please get into the pit lane. As Northey picks up a 3-second time penalty, Gunner does get going as Ty and Scones continue on here. Lime has gone for the undercut, and he's gone for mediums now, so Lime definitely committing to the 2-stop. Meanwhile, Crimson now battling with Stephen Beecham. Crimson on the fresh hards in comparison to Stephen Beecham's 6-lap old hards. But a reminder, Stephen can still make the 2-stop work here. He may not have the pace of the cars on the fresher strategies, the likes of Crimson in behind. But Crimson now going to look on the inside of Stephen Beecham, going to send it later than the Ferrari, as the Ferrari now round the outside, battling with the McLaren. Can Crimson find a way through? Is Stephen now going to look to out-drag the McLaren, but is he going to be boxed in by the Red Bull? Going to try and get a nose out there now. It's 3 wide down the back straight here in Texas, as Stephen now gets ahead of the Red Bull. Oh, and a little bit of contact with Crimson there as Stephen gets round the outside. We also seen Lime get ahead of Northey as well here. There's cars absolutely everywhere. Crimson gets ahead of Raheem now, and Stephen going to try and look through to get ahead of Sci-Fi Mega Hype, as Ty Clear almost back inside DRS range from TJ. TJ doesn't seem to be building that big of a gap now, as Lime gets ahead of Jimmy Dwyer around the outside of turn 16. As Stephen now still on the rear of Sci-Fi. Pit, I believe, lap 1. As a snap of the rear again. Stephen probably getting flashbacks from earlier in the race when he did see the Aston Martin spinning across him. And Sci-Fi now going to back out. Crimson dives it down the inside. And what a move from the McLaren. Could see Sci-Fi rejoining the racing line, and brilliant move there from the McLaren. Meanwhile, Scones and Ty Clear continue on here. They don't seem to have lost too much time to Ty, or to TJ ahead, so if they do decide to box on the 2-stop here, or even the 1-stop, I don't think they'll have lost too much time, to be honest with you, in comparison to TJ, who's on the reverse strategy. Meanwhile, Lime all over the rear of Raheem now, trying to find a way through. Scones going to get back down the inside of Ty Clear. Side by side they go. And Ty's going to keep it ahead of Scones now. As Crimson now going to try and get ahead of Stephen Beecham now. And on the much fresher tyres, the McLaren will get ahead. But can Stephen hold on to the rear of Crimson? This could be big for Stephen's race. If he can hold on to the McLaren for as long as possible and use his DRS, this is crucial for Stephen. He had pace to get pole here. Does he have pace to hold on to DRS off the McLaren on much fresher tyres? Also, Stephen chose a harder tyre allocation. It could give Stephen an opportunity to go to hards at a time which would be not too inconvenient. But if he does have to go mediums, then he may have to stretch these hards a little longer than he would have liked. But he still will have DRS as Zampa picks up a 10-second spinning in the pit lane penalty. That'll certainly not help Zampa here. Stephen now still has DRS from Crimson ahead. As Scones and Tyclair continue on, they seem to be committing to the one stop now, as Lime now back up in a P7. And Stephen, can he stay with Crimson? Can Crimson pull a gap to the Ferrari behind? Meanwhile, Scones and Tyclair continue on, and Scones having a terrific race here, still inside DRS range. And if they manage the mediums beautifully here, the one stop could be quicker, but we'll have to see as time progresses which ends up being quicker. Crimson got in very early, so you'd expect Crimson to be doing the two stop here, but which ends up playing out better, we will see. But Ty honestly not falling that far back from TJ. Ty does not have DRS off TJ, but has stayed around half a second back from that threshold, so Ty is still keeping good pace on these mediums. It's not really harming his race here. Stephen picks up a 3-second time penalty. That could definitely harm his race. A rare time penalty, I must say, from Stephen. You don't really see the Ferrari pick up too many of those, but maybe some frustration seeping in. Zampa battling with Lanky now through the middle sector, and Lanky gets through on Zampa despite Zampa being on the fresher tyres, as Ty, Scones and D Summers all come in now off the mediums, as Zampa trying to find his way through on Lanky. Also has A54 for company. But where do all these drivers exit the box? We will see. Does Scones lose a lot of time to Ty? I think Ty has got a better pit entry there, and Lime now is actually undercut Scones here, and Ty also clips Ty as well as they exit the box. That would have helped Scones a little bit here, trying to get back inside DRS range off Ty, as Zampa gets ahead of Northey, and A54 also gets ahead of Northey as Ellis picks up a 3-second time penalty here. But a very split field, not quite sure who's on what strategy, who's on the best strategy, but Lime back up in a P4. His undercut has worked for him well, and he's now in DRS range off Stephen Beecham, so Lime, despite the race not going ideally his way, he is back up into a decent position here, and Lime could still score big despite his earlier spin that would take him out of the lead of the race. And now Lime back inside DRS range of Stephen Beecham. These two started the race battling for the lead, and after a Lime spin, Stephen got collected, picked up damage, and now these two resume their battle. But I'm sure Stephen not happy as Zampa gets ahead of Lanky, but I'm sure Stephen isn't happy because Lime lost it through turn 15, and Stephen was just a passenger in the incident, as Lanky getting back through again on Zampa. As these two battle through the final sector, Zampa going to keep it ahead now. No Ty survived Rio, but unfortunately Stephen, who started the race from pole, was caught by Lime, as he is caught by Lime again into turn 1. Lime spun at turn 15, and Stephen was a passenger who ran into the side of Lime, and it caused big damage for our pole sitter. So now our pole sitter's really out of sync now. He's done 10 laps on these hards. Will definitely need to pit again here. And now he has his teammate of Tyclair on the rear now, and Ty's going to want to get ahead of Stephen as quickly as possible so that Ty can latch on to the rear of Lime. As we do that, I'm going to try and restart my controller again. As Rio says, Ferrari team order is going to happen. You got to think so. Surely Stephen going to let his teammate through. However, these two are championship rivals. Stephen leads the championship on 88 points. Meanwhile, Tyclair on 81 points. Only 7 points separate the Ferrari pair, as Tyclair does get ahead of Stephen. But Stephen didn't necessarily have to let his teammate through. He would have been thinking about the championship now, as Scones through turn 16 make it, or turn 13. Gets a lovely switch back on Stephen and gets through, and Scones needed exactly that here. Scones also joining the battle for victory here as well. And Ty and Scones, if they keep in DRS range from Lime and just manage their hordes, that could really help them on their one-stop strategy, as Ellis is retired in the pit lane along with his brother of Bean. And Rio, yes, Scones has upgraded his setup. He's now got a Mazda R5, and with that, could Scones be potentially looking at his first podium in WHF? Scones only started league racing last year, and already he's found buckets of pace on this game. As Rio says, Scones has got a better setup than me. He's definitely got a better setup than me. I've got a controller that's about 10 years old that's still going strong with me. And if that controller ever breaks, my league racing career is over. As Ty Clear now on the rear of Lime. Can he find a way through on Lime? Is Lime trying to catch the rear of Crimson? But Ty now with DRS may get the perfect slingshot onto the back of Crimson. And Ty now, who could be one of the favourites for victory here, he won in Spain in round 2. And Ty now back up into P3. Ty now almost inside DRS range from Crimson, who pit 3 laps earlier. And a reminder, the battle for the lead is really between Scones, Ty Clear, and TJ. TJ on the reverse strategy, trying to make those hards go as long as he can before boxing for mediums. But Ty here, if he can get onto the rear of Crimson and use DRS, he could help protect his hards to the end of the race here. And tyre management could play a big factor here. And as we mentioned, team orders, if Lime does start to struggle here, he's got to think about letting his teammate Scones through as well. But Lime still has decent pace on these mediums, did lose out to Ty. As Ty now may have just got inside DRS, the DRS window of Crimson ahead, as Lime has a big snap of the rear, massive snap out of turn 1. As Gunner gets ahead of A54 and Raheem, they seem to have both left the track at the final corner. And A54 with no front wing, as Lanky battling with Sci-Fi. And not quite sure what's happening with A54 and Raheem, both of them with big front end damage. As Lime now has lost DRS to tie ahead. Surely Lime has got to think about letting his teammate through of Scones. We will see. But has Lime got back inside DRS range? The rear light already flashing on the Aston Martin as he's lost DRS now. And surely he's got to let through his teammate of Scones, and he does just that. Meanwhile, Ty Clear down the inside of Crimson into turn 12. Ty breaks much later, and a fantastic move from the Ferrari there. As Scones now up into P4. As Crimson back down the inside of turn 13 on Ty Clear. And all of that battling is helping Scones get back inside DRS range as well. And that's perfect for Scones' race. He had dropped about half a second back as he had to swap positions there with Lime. As Lanky gets on the inside of Sci-Fi Mega Hype. As TJ finally comes in off the hard tyres onto the mediums to the end here. But can Scones catch the rear of Crimson here? As well as Lime. Can he recompose Lime? Although going to come in now. Does Lime have another set of hards to go on? He did do a medium-medium. Now he may be looking to go medium-medium hard. Meanwhile, A54 picks up a 3-second time penalty. A reminder, A54 has no front wing on that car at all. As we do see a couple positions swapping. Stephen still out there on these older hards, but Stephen got to think about boxing soon onto his final stint. I don't think he's a set of hards to go on. I think it'll be medium, so he may take it as far as lap 18 before going on to the medium tyres. As Zampa exits the box ahead of Lime. Lime will exit the box just ahead of Lanky, who's already done 8 laps on these hard tyres. Meanwhile, Ty Clear inherits the lead of the race. Crimson, who has DRS off the car ahead, but Scones now desperately trying to get back inside DRS range. Scones, if you're listening, dump the battery, give it everything, push to try and get back inside DRS range. DRS is so important on this game, and he needs to give it absolutely everything to get inside DRS range. Otherwise, Ty Clear could clear off down the road. We'll have to see. Unless Scones has more pace than Ty, we will see. But Crimson does have DRS. Scones desperately trying to hold on to the rears. TJ gets ahead of D. Sommers now. As D. Sommers ghosting, did they have some contact? Not quite sure. Don't see any damage on that Williams, but TJ out into P5 now. And Scones with a 3-second time penalty. That is not what the Aston needed at all. And potential win could be thrown out the window now for Scones. As the favourites now look to be TJ, Scones, well, TJ and Ty Clear, as Stephen Beecham, who was the favourite going into the race, starting from pole, unfortunately had contact, dropping him down the order, and now he's in the pit lane for his final pit stop. Can we see Stephen have a good recovery drive? We will see. He may exit the box just behind Sci-Fi Mega Hype. We'll have to see here. Sci-Fi coming down into turn 1, and Stephen gets just ahead of Sci-Fi, so Stephen's got good mediums to use to the end. If he can clear some of this traffic, we will see. As Lime on the rear of Zampa. Zampa on the 5-lap older hards, as Lanky picks up a 3-second time penalty. As Stephen trying to latch onto the rear of Gunner. Meanwhile, Crimson's lost DRS range from Ty Clear. Has the DRS open, but Ty Clear now seeming to be pulling a gap on the fresher hards as Lime dives it on the inside of Zampa. Zampa's going to try and get back ahead of Lime. And Lime, unfortunately, draining too much of the battery here. But can Zampa get back ahead of Lime? No, Lime going to stay ahead now. Seems to be running lower wings than Zampa. And Lime going to stay ahead of Zampa. As Scones now inside DRS range of Crimson. Can Scones use the DRS off the McLaren to help him slingshot towards the Ferrari? A reminder, Scones does have a 3-second time penalty that may hurt him at the end of this one. But he can still challenge for the win here. As he looks to the inside, trying to perform a bit of a distraction for Crimson, as Crimson goes a little wide, offering a little bit of room to Scones on the inside. And Scones now still charging after the McLaren, but as the laps progress, Ty Clear will start to build his gap even further and further. And this may hurt Lime here as well, as Lime gets a 3-second time penalty. And I didn't even mean to mention Lime, this may hurt TJ as well. Because TJ will have to try and dispatch both of these cars now, as Scones going to dive it down the inside of Crimson into turn 12. Goes very deep. Crimson goes for the switchback, gets it, but who has DRS here? As we head into the corner, Scones has DRS, has another opportunity to get ahead of the McLaren now and down into turn 12. Can Scones outbrake the McLaren as he brakes very early into turn 12? Which has probably been his downfall this race. He could brake far later into turn 12 than he is doing. But Scones now on the rear of Crimson. A54 with another time penalty out there. As Scones trying to chase the rear of the McLaren. And Crimson now going to come in for his final stop, which will release Scones now. But can Scones catch Ty is the question. As Gunner picks up a 3-second time penalty. Also, what will TJ's pace be in clear air? As D Summers into P4. And where will Crimson exit? Will he exit ahead of Lime? Lime going to get ahead of Crimson as Stephen Beecham battling with Zampa now. Stephen going to try and outbrake on the outside of the Williams as the Williams runs him out of road. And Stephen going to try and find a way through on Zampa. Zampa defending though. Here in the Williams, Stephen going to try and find a way through on Zampa as Sci-Fi comes in for his final pit stop here. But this battling is hurting Stephen's race. Stephen would like to latch onto the rear of Crimson now, but Crimson has probably built too big of a gap now. But does Stephen have pace on these mediums? Bumps the rear of the Williams as they head through turn 11. And now with DRS, can Stephen get ahead of the Williams as the Williams goes defensive, but Stephen now on the outside. But DRS will surely get ahead now. as TJ continuing to catch Scones now. A reminder, TJ trying to pick up his second win of the season. Ty Clear trying to pick up his second win of the season. Scones trying to pick up his first podium of the season. And all Scones really needs to do is manage those hards to the end. He doesn't need to really battle with TJ too hard if he wants this podium. I'm sure Scones was thinking about the win at some point, but you gotta prioritise just getting the points on the board here. Meanwhile, TJ, D. Somers picks up a 3-second time penalty. That'll not help him. D. Somers was within an outside shout of the podium if he could have caught Scones. Meanwhile, TJ now on the rear of Scones. And if I were Scones, I would not fight this too hard. Although, to be fair to Scones, if he does hold up TJ for long enough, TJ's mediums will start to fall off. And towards the end, Scones will have better tyres here. And as we see, TJ unable to get ahead of the Aston. The Aston doing well here. Is TJ going to look down the inside of turn 13? As we get a horrible camera angle and a lovely move from TJ. Gets a brilliant move out of turn 13. And now Scones has got to try and do everything he can to keep inside DRS range of the Alpine. Because that will help carry Scones up the road to try and catch the rear of Ty Clear. And TJ picks up a 3-second time penalty. That could be massive for the battle for victory, even if TJ can get ahead of Ty Clear. That 3-second time penalty could cost him here, as Gunnar gets ahead of Fackery down into turn 12, as we've got a bit of a little mini train going here, led by Jimmy Dwyer, battling over P10. Meanwhile, Scones appears to be losing DRS range as Fackery going to come in for his final pit stop into the pit lane. Scones seems to have lost DRS range from TJ. And now Scones all needs to do really is worry about his own race as Zampa picks up another 3-second time penalty. But Scones just got to worry about trying to get his first podium here in WHF, which I'm sure he'll be sweating over. Meanwhile, Lime trying to catch D. Somers on these better tyres. Crimson, though, trying to catch the rear of Lime. We've also got Stephen Beecham trying to catch the rear of Crimson. There's a lot of stories going on here, as Zampa has 13 seconds of penalties. Gunnar with 16, A54 with 18. And meanwhile, it is Sci-Fi with 6, along with Fackery and Northey. And everyone else you see out there with penalties only have the 3 seconds. But Kota is famous for being a very track limits heavy track. As Crimson picks up another 3-second time penalty, that's not going to help him in his battle for the podium. As Fackery now going to try and get back ahead of Raheem and Dub Z. And Raheem doing well to defend here. Fackery on the better mediums, trying to find a way through on the Red Bull as they battle over the ladder points positions. P16 the points go down to. But can Fackery find a way through on Raheem? As through turn 16 they all struggle. Can Fackery find a way through, and Raheem just doesn't seem to find the opening as he runs wide, struggling in that dirty air. Meanwhile, TJ only 2 seconds off the rear now of Ty Clear. As there's a yellow flag around and it's Zampa. Oh, absolute heartbreak for Zampa. Spins out of turn 10. And Zampa now down to P9 where he started the race. But does Zampa have any damage? He does. Front left end plate missing on Zampa's front end. But he does have a big gap to Gunnar behind, so Zampa could hold on to that position for the rest of the race. We will see. But Currently, Factory's got ahead of Raheem. Next on his agenda is the McLaren of Dubsy, as Crimson looks like he's closing to the rear of Lime. Lime in P5. Crimson, who does have an additional penalty, as Factory bumps the rear of Dubsy. And A54 with another time penalty, taking his total to 21 points. And Factory getting ahead of Dubsy. Yes, Kevin. TJ's got 3-second time penalty as he looks to catch Ty clear. Ty just really needs to keep it on the road here, as Lanky going to box now. Very late. Surprisingly late, I must say. He's going to lose a position to Zampa, although Zampa going to come in and fix his front wing. Meanwhile, Gunner and Jimmy, you'd think, may jump both of them. Kevin says Ty on 2 warnings. We will see here. Ty is on 3 warnings. One of them must have been contact warning. Or at least one of them would have been a contact warning. It's annoying it doesn't let you know whether they were track limits or not, as Lanky exits the box behind Jimmy Dwyer. But I'll look at the, if we can see, as A54 is retired from the session. Is that in the pit lane? I believe so it is, as Factory gets ahead of Northy. But not quite sure how many warnings Ty is on, but we'll see as time progresses. As Crimson now on the rear of Lime, as Lime looks to catch D. Summers. Crimson trying to catch Lime here. As Lanky gets ahead of Jimmy Dwyer down the back straight here. And Lanky into P9. He's just got 5 seconds to catch to Gunner, and he'll be back into the position that he was in P8 anyway. So Lanky just trying to get the fastest lap of the race. Meanwhile, Zampa with his pit stop was the wrong decision completely, because now he's down to the back of the race entirely. I don't feel like Zampa made the right move coming into the box, but, you know, maybe that damage was too much for Zampa. But Crimson now trying to stay with Lime as they both try and catch D. Summers in the battle for P4. Scones having a very strong outing there in P3. Meanwhile, Raheem getting ahead of Dubsy. And as Crimson has lost DRS range to Lime has latched onto the rear of D. Summers, so Crimson's got to focus up here to get back inside DRS range here. Meanwhile, D. Summers going to try and carry these tyres to the end, but it's going to be tough to do now with Lime and Crimson breathing down his neck here on lap 24. D. Summers could potentially have got a podium last time out now, and again, he is looking like he may lose some positions here late on. But Crimson does have an additional 6 seconds of penalties. Lime on equal penalties to D. Summers, so I think D. Summers needs to not panic here. And he should be able to keep it ahead of Lime. And Crimson trying to catch the rear of Lime. Lime all over the rear of D. Summers. Can he catch? Meanwhile, Andre on the rear of Dubsy, trying to find a way through. Dub makes a snap of the rear out of turn 15. Meanwhile, Lime on the inside of D. Summers, down at turn 11. D. Summers with a lovely switchback, though, going to get through on the Aston Martin driver as Crimson watches this battle along. And who has DRS? It's Lime actually has DRS on the rear of D. Summers, but D. Summers going to go defensive. And Lime going to try down the inside again as Crimson around the outside. 3 wide, big calamity as Crimson picks up another time penalty following that contact. But a 3 wide moment and big contact between all 3 of them there of Lime, D. Summers and Crimson. And Crimson as a result picks up another time penalty. I think everyone escaped without damage. Meanwhile, TJ has joined Ty Clear in the battle for victory here, but TJ does have a 3-second time penalty that may cost him here. And are his mediums too worn out now as Zampa picks up another 3-second time penalty? D. Summers does have DRS on the rear of line. And can D. Summers close up to the rear of the Aston? The Aston has got 4 laps better hards. Meanwhile, Crimson, I'm sure, is frustrated in this battle. Meanwhile, Raheem and Northey battle again as Andrew on the outside now. A big contact with the Red Bull there of Northey, I believe. And Northey, big contact with Andrew as Raheem now looking to battle as we get horrible camera angles, and Northey and Raheem go side by side as Northey may lose out to both drivers. Meanwhile, Crimson on the rear of D. Summers now. Can Crimson latch onto the rear of line now? But Crimson may look to get that penalty removed by the stewards. We'll see what the stewards can do. TJ, meanwhile, unable to get ahead of Ty Clare as Ty Clare looking for his 2nd win of the season, and this may even give Ty the championship lead here in Tier 2. And TJ seems to have lost DRS off Ty. Maybe a little mistake through the middle sector as he tries to latch back onto the rear of the Ferrari. The Ferrari just needs to keep it within the white lines. Make sure he doesn't pick up another warning, as Dubsy does pick up another warning. But Ty does not need to overcomplicate things here. Meanwhile, Crimson trying to catch Lime here. D. Summers drops into P6 as Stephen Beecham now up into P7. We'll have DRS off D. Summers ahead. But here in the penultimate round, or penultimate lap of the race here in round 6, TJ following along Ty in the battle for victory, but TJ's 3-second time penalty may cost him massively. Also, can TJ find a way through on Ty? We will see. And TJ now with DRS, can he find a way through on Ty? Or does Ty have too much straight line speed now in the Ferrari? Seems like the Alpine just isn't catching as much as he would like, despite the Alpine having DRS here. Stephen battling with D. Summers. They swap positions momentarily. And Stephen still trying to get through on the Williams as the Williams now gets ahead. But can Stephen get back ahead now with DRS? He may look down the inside of the Williams, but it's too far back to look for the move on D. Summers now as they continue to battle over P6 now, which they may gain some positions because of Crimson's penalties as well, although Crimson may get a warning removed after contact. We will certainly see. As TJ and Ty Clare start the final lap of the race. Ty has had such a strong outing today. It was his teammate who'd start the race from pole, but Ty, who was just the most consistent driver out there, avoided all of the carnage, and he's just got one more lap to defend from TJ. And another win could be in the Ferrari's hands, which could also give him the championship lead as well. Meanwhile, Stephen Beecham looks on the rear of D. Summers, trying to find a way through on the Williams. These two are equal on penalties, so this is a battle for P6. May also be P5 as they'll get ahead of Crimson. But as we head out of turn 11, can Ty keep TJ behind? This is really just for pride. But can also TJ force a mistake out of Ty that Ty picks up another warning and potentially a 3-second time penalty? TJ's got to give it absolutely everything here on the rear of Ty as he closes down to turn 12. And TJ with a biblical send down the inside of Ty, and he catches the rear of the Ferrari, but it was just too little too late. And Ty did leave room for the Alpine, but the Alpine was just too far back to go for that move. And Ty will keep it ahead here in the Ferrari. As again, my controller has stopped working. Not quite sure why that keeps happening, but ayo. We will head on board with Ty Clare as Zampa picks up another 3-second time penalty along with Factory, but Ty Clare now will round the final corner here in Kota, and here in round 6, before the mid-season break, Tyclair wins in Kota and takes the championship lead with him as well. Meanwhile, TJ finishes P2, and Scones with his first podium in WHF with his new wheel up to P3. Fantastic result there from Scones as Crimson crosses the line but finishes down behind D. Somers and Stephen Beecham as there's a yellow flag around, I believe, for Zampa here. But Scones with his first podium as Ty will pick up the championship lead here in Tier 2 as we head into the mid-season break. Ferrari lead the constructors as we head into the mid-season break, but it will be as we see Dub and Raheem battle over the ladder positions as Lanky jumps Gunner. Ferrari will lead the constructors into the mid-season break, but it'll be Ty who will take the championship lead off his teammate here as we head into the second half of the season. Meanwhile, Factory crosses the line behind Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi will keep ahead on penalties as Dubsy will try and get ahead of Raheem here as Andrew finishes ahead of Factory because of penalties. Lanky says I was spun at the start. Stewart's going to love this one, as I'm sure the Stewart's going to be very busy after that lap 1 as Dubsy finishes behind Raheem. Raheem in P14 as Northy picks up the last point paying position as Zampa Zampa is crashing into the Alpine. There's Ghosted. No idea what Zampa's doing here, but oh well. Zampa unfortunately will not score today because of his because of finishing P17. Points go down to P16 here in WHF, and this is a hilarious glitch as Zampa is bogging his way through with the P2 car, and Zampa, is he going to turn into Scones? Yes, he is. Oh well. Zampa probably possibly going to do some donuts or something, or take out the DRS sign as he crosses the line as the final finisher here today. And there you have it, Zampa, our final finisher today. But it would be Tyclair who wins here in Tier 2. And we will move into the Drivers Interviews channel if anyone does want to join for driver interviews. But a fantastic race there. And Ty would pick up his second win of the season. Ahead of TJ and ahead of Scones. Scones picking up his first podium here in WHF as TJ picks up his second best performance of the season. But Stephen probably very annoyed at that one after contact with Lime. Meanwhile, Lanky is your driver of the day. Stephen with the fastest lap and most overtakes, but your race win will be Ty, as we'll try and get the results in here and the race director, but I don't even know if we have enough time to get the race director because it's Kota, so it's going to be a long one. Hopefully we get it. Hey, we just about got the race director in time. Lovely. But we will start the driver interviews here, and we will start with Scones. Scones, it's your first podium in WHF. How does that feel? But actually, hold that thought, because I haven't got my Discord settings right.
You know, he lost it in the third sector there, but I think
Scones, no one can hear you. Give it a second.
oh, really? Wait, is it like a volume thing?
Zampa is playing the Coffin Dance sound alert, so it's so loud that you can't hear anyone. But go ahead, Scones, how'd your race go?
Absolutely phenomenal. You know, almost everything felt perfect. I made minimal mistakes. Thought I could get lucky and get past Ty, but his defense was just too good. You know, props to him. Amazing drive. Congratulations to him on the win. Feels good to get a podium finally.
Hello there.
Yeah, I'm buzzed. I'm buzzing on that one. It feels good.
Yeah, and we have been waiting long for that podium because you had threatened this season currently, to try and get a podium, and finally you have one under your belt. And congratulations to you, Scones, for picking up that podium.
I think I should retire now while I've got a podium.
Quit while you're
While I'm
ahead.
Thank you. Congratulations to I think it was Crimson who got P2 and Ty Clear who was the winner. Congratulations, guys.
Yeah, and we'll move on to. I think we'll start with Lime. Lime, at a point that race you led, but an unfortunate spin and a coming together with you and Stephen Beecham would force you both down the order. Lime, how'd that race go for you?
I'll start off in qualifying. Second run, I invalidated, so I could have possibly challenged for pole, but only able to do literally one really good hot lap, and that put me P3 on the grid, which I was happy with. Got a decent start, was able to hang around the outside of TJ, and obviously on the colder hard tyres, and just catch up to Stephen. I knew I had the pace advantage over him, but obviously he played a bit of defence going into the third sector, hanging around the outside. I could just see him going for the switchback as everyone does in that corner, so I just kept it narrow, and the rears decided to turn into ice blocks, and I just spun and collected him, which broke his wing, and that tumbled me down the order a bit. But I said to Ollie before this race, I don't know if it's 2-stop or 1-stop, and I gambled with the 2-stop, hoping there might be a safety car. There wasn't, so I was absolutely stuffed. But obviously I could tell that people were starting to struggle on their older tyres because I was really catching up to Scones near the end. But you know, if everything didn't happen, you know, if everything didn't happen, what would have happened scenario. But at least one of us got a podium. Slowly trying to claw back the deficit I've got in the championship at the moment, but it's gonna be a hard one, I think, at the moment. With everything that keeps happening, if I can just somehow overtake someone to keep it a bit cleaner and not get my rears turned to ice, then it might be a little bit more easier. But no. But besides, coming out the field was relatively fun until the Summers decided to actually have a defense masterclass, and me and Crimson sent it on them at both time, and I do not know what happened. Apart from I just hear a lot of carbon smacking, and I just see Crimson off in the runoff area, and D Summers just wide. So, yeah, but apart from little incidents, it relatively was okay. I mean, I came back to P4 in the end, which I'm overall happy with. Just got to practice over the next couple of weeks to the next one, and hopefully I can get that one in the bag to at least somehow claw back a little bit of points. But yeah, it's going to be a hard one at the moment.
Well, regardless, still a decent recovery drive, and hopefully as we come back from the mid-season break, some better performances along with that as well. But we'll move on to Crimson. Crimson, how'd your race go?
Well, it wasn't really the best. Had a couple incidents throughout the race where I just kept losing the car out wide, and it kept causing me to get track limits. At one point, a Ferrari literally cut across my front wing, and I had to stop a lot quicker, or else I would have taken it out. And then I'm going to be going to see the Stewarts because I just got slammed into by Summers. I don't know if it was on purpose or by accident.
Oh,
They caused me a 3-second penalty.
Yeah.
That
We caught that on stream. Lime was on the inside of D Summers, and you went on the outside of both of them, and it was a 3-wide moment. We didn't catch it fully, so maybe the onboards of that incident may give us a better story.
it may just be a racing incident. It just caused me to get that 3 seconds, so I was just going to see what I could do about that.
You might be able to get that 3 second removed. There may be a pen going to one of the drivers, not quite sure. Well, the stewards will have to have a look at whatever happened in that incident to find out what the actual story is.
but not bad. I don't really like Coda, so for where I finished, I'll take it.
Yep, still a decent result, and also another decent result on the board as well for D Summers. D Summers, how'd your race go as well?
I mean, quali didn't quite go to plan. I invalidated both of my first runs in quali, and finally got a decent time on my final run. With a little bit of a help from Zampa giving me a tow down the long DRS straight. But yeah, the race went as expected, really. Me and Zampa both predicted it would be a one stop unless there was going to be a safety car. And then when Lime and Crimson caught up to me, I was sweating bullets at that point because I knew they were both on fresher tyres than I was. But yeah, as Lime came up the inside of me, he absolutely clouted me, and that ricocheted me into Crimson, sending him off the track. But yeah, after that incident, it was just a case of stay in front of Stephen Beecham and just pray that he doesn't get past me. And I did my absolute best defense-wise to keep him behind.
Yeah, and it was a very good defensive drive at the end there. We've seen you and Stephen battling towards the end. We're thinking Stephen, who did start the race from pole, had loads of pace around here, but was still unable to find a way through. And you kept P6 in the end, wasn't it? Or P5?
P5.
But that is one of your best results of the season. I believe P4 may have been your best result so far.
I believe P5 is actually my best. It's matched with round 1 Australia.
Well, still a very good result, and as we come back from the mid-season break, maybe even a podium on the horizon, because we have seen over the last number of races you have got a couple sniffs of the podium, and maybe when we come back, there could be finally an opportunity for one of them.
Yeah, I mean, even in the pre-season at Austria, in the reverse pre-season that we did, I did pretty well there considering all the carnage that happened in that race. So I'm relatively confident when it comes to Austria. I know I'm not the fastest over a single lap, but I have a decent amount of consistency around there. So hopefully, if any incidents happen ahead of me, I can snatch a podium. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully so, and we will see you then when we come back from our double break week. We'll also move on to Gunnar. Gunnar, how'd your race go this evening?
I completely lost the race. I think it was lap 8. I can barely speak, I'm sorry. But apart from that, my pace was actually decent. I was keeping in touch with like the top 4, and then just lost the race. Broke my wing, went into pit, and then I just slammed into the pit entrance. So I did okay to claw it back to like P9. Picked up a 10-second penalty in the pit lane as well, but it was okay. Nothing like special.
Yeah, we did see unfortunate pin entry, but as unfortunate as unfortunately we've all been liable to do it. You can ask me and Scones in Spain. We both love eating the pit entry.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Scones is okay with me saying that now because he has his podium now, so he has that monkey off his back.
It's locked in. Got the trophy.
I think Scones now also you have that podium. You'll be able to race a bit more relaxed because you're like, I already have my podium.
Yeah.
Don't need to stress as much.
I'll start skipping qualifying now. Just P18. I don't care. I got a podium.
But nonetheless, we'll move on to Sci-Fi as well. Sci-Fi, how'd your race go?
Most of it pretty boring. It was quite alone for a lot of the race for some reason. But in fact, the most entertaining part was the part I didn't like, 10-1 first lap. It's pretty much a lot of optimism going into that one. But yeah, it was not hard or simple race, just not entertaining from my side. Not entertaining me. Too much of a alone time.
Well, where'd you end up finishing, Sci-Fi?
P11.
P11 still not a bad result. Still inside the points. A reminder, our points go down to P16, so still picked up some decent points for VCarb.
Yeah.
And we actually did see you involved in some battles, so I'm surprised you did mention it being a born race, because I'm pretty sure I did see you out there battling with some drivers.
I don't know. We're just trying to keep people behind, not very badly.
But I did see you defending out there a couple of times, so you were able to keep a bit of a train behind you for a large part of the race.
Yes. That was always sort of the plan. Because I started on the hards to make sure that people don't run away from when I switch to the mediums, when their hearts start dying off.
Yeah.
But it was an okay race, I have to say.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that is it for driver interviews. I believe that is everyone. Make sure everyone who's in the stream, make sure to drop a follow, and also thank you for the follow, Bridgie, during the driver interviews there. We're going to find someone to raid on our way out, and also we will have the final round of Tier 1 tomorrow, as Tier 1 head to Monza before the double break week, where we have 2 weeks off in the mid-season here before we restart again in September. Everyone should take the 2 weeks to enjoy the rest of their summer and get a bit of a tan as they come back for round 7, as in Austria in 3 weeks, 2 weeks time, 3 weeks time, whatever the math is. We head to Austria. But anyway, thank you all for watching. We'll find someone to raid on our way out. Let us raid. Let's see here. Let us just raid Scott Taylor. Why not? But anyway, thank you all for watching. If you haven't... Oh wait, what were you going to say, D. Summers?
I was going to say, and don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and send it to your nan.
Exactly. But thank you all for watching. I've been WJFR, and make sure to follow Scott Taylor on your way over. And we will see you in 2 weeks' time. Bye-bye, everyone.